Welcome into the In the Money podcast for Thursday, April 19th. Tom Lee chilling with Jim Goodman, Keeneland's Director of Wagering Development, as we take a look at the late pick four on the Thursday card. No stakes race, but there is an allowance feature that goes as the eighth race. We'll start in the sixth with the pick four since there's not a stake. It's a maiden claimer for fillies and mares going 7 furlongs. And I thought two of the horses, Jim, that I liked a little bit were on the also eligible list, so definitely pay attention to the scratches here. Where did you land in the sixth?
Yeah, I think actually there's three horses out there that if either of them gets in the 13, 14, or 15, they've got a shot. And then Rosario riding the 16 for Ward if he gets in. So I think you're right. Any of those that draw in, it's not a strong race. It's a 20,000 maiden claimer, and I didn't have a real strong opinion here. I wound up going to She's the Nuts on the outside, the 11 hole, coming out of a maiden special weight at Turfway and ran second. It's hard to compare a maiden special weight at Turfway with a maiden claimer 20,000 at Keeneland, but I think they're probably comparable, maybe even a little bit drop in class when they put the filly up for sale. They gave $60,000 for her, and she didn't run badly at Turfway, and just took a swing here with the 11. Looks like 9-2, 5-1 is going to be a price on her. When we get to the pick four, I'm going to use probably 4 in here. I think Pure Sugar. Sally Shoe doesn't have many horses, but usually when they run at Keeneland, they're live. She's only had 5 horses in 2018 with 1 win. But this horse, unique trip from Del Mar to Santa Anita in maiden claimers out there, and comes back here to run at Keeneland for 20,000. So I think she's got a shot. I think I always try to take a first-time starter in maiden claimers, and I think Sassy Zeman for Neil Howard merits a look here. She obviously hasn't lost before because she hasn't run, so I like horses like that in a maiden claimer. And then I would probably also use Security for Jim Graham and Ben Colebrook, just out of respect for Colebrook. Tried her at Turfway in a maiden special weight, didn't do very well, but ran competitively at Churchill last November with a 52 buyer, which I think is the top buyer number in here. I'm going to pass on Go Stellaire, 0 for 13. She may win dropping from maiden special weight to 20,000, but not with my money. So I'm going to stick with those 4. Very shaky win bet on She's the Nuts.
I did not have a real strong opinion here either. And with that being the case, I just couldn't find anybody I liked. So I said, let me go look at this from the standpoint of find a price horse that I could make a case for. And I ended up on Gemoiselle, the 8 at 12-1. Just because it looks like a weak field. This horse gets a new trainer, gets blinkers, gets a class drop, and makes the first start after a long layoff. And so there's just a bunch of changes. And I thought on those angles, and Joe Sharp's sharp, so I'm going to try Gemoiselle here. But I would want to go. I'm not going to be able to spread as much as I would like in the pick 4 just because of the inability to find a single. Security, I thought, was maybe the one I like next best because of those angles you mentioned. Colebrook and as a decent figure up at Turfway. More Moolah, if that one gets in, Rosario riding for Wesley Ward, got to use that one on that angle. Animalistic, thought had a good shot. Sassy Zeman, that first-time starter for Neil Howard, I would have to use that one as well. And I'll probably cut it off there in the pick 4. Others I had written down were Miss Divine and Go Stellaire, but I'm like you. I'm perfectly confident going against that favorite if she even ends up being the favorite. So Gemoiselle, kind of a shaky pick, looking for a price there for me in the 6th. And when we get to the pick 4 here in a bit, I'm going to spread out. 7th race is a maiden race on the turf at a mile for 3-year-olds. There are 2 divisions of this on either side of the allowance feature. And if Say the Word draws in, I think I would take that one for the 14 for Graham Motion. Big improvement in the 3-year-old debut. Probably won't draw in. And if not, then my next choice is Raging Bull. Chad Brown Firster, he's been red hot. Rosario's been red hot. 2 of them together, too much for me to pass up. This has got a good post position. Their steady pattern of works pretty much a week apart for a while now. So Raging Bull. Irish Territory is the next one I liked. Thought Mott putting this one in a graded stake as a maiden last year at Saratoga suggests he must have a pretty high opinion of her. Others I liked, Irish or First Spring, the 11. Divide, the 2, but this horse really didn't take a lot of money being a Pletcher horse in the races at Gulfstream. And then Bailout, just out of respect for Shug McGahee, I might include that one. But I'm going to take Say the Word, and if he doesn't run, I'll go Raging Bull for my win pick. How about you in the 7th?
I went with Irish Territory. I like the angle that you mentioned. Bill Mott takes this horse off a maiden try at Saratoga, which wasn't really that impressive, and they put him into with anticipation a grade 3 and almost won it, and went off at a little less than 7-1. So there were a lot of wise people that day at Saratoga that liked this horse, ran behind Catholic Boy, and Untamed Domain ran third. So I don't know what happened after that. Hadn't run since August 30th, but Mott gets them ready. So I respect him enough to use Irish Territory, but I also use Non-Regret for Andrew McKeever, Raging Bull, as you said, for Chad Brown, never leave him out, Divide for Todd Pletcher, and the 11-horse First Spring for Mark Cassie. Ran twice at Fairgrounds at 5.5 furlongs on the turf, and at least if you look at the pattern of closing, looks like that he wants more territory. He's going to get it here at a mile, so drawn outside should be able to track the pace. And that last race coming from 7th to close to get within a mile, length and a quarter of the winner at 2-1. So I think First Spring has a shot here. So I'm going to go probably 5 deep in the pick 4, but Irish Territory, I'll probably do a little 7-11 exacta box here.
8th race, non-winners of one other than allowance at a mile and a 16th. And where did you land in the 8th?
I like Big Dollar Bill. I really like that progression of buyers from, if you go back 5-6 races, going from a 66 to a 73 to an 84, and then ran a 95 in a stakes race at Tampa. Last time out, won his only race at Keeneland. Broke his maiden here at a mile and an 8 back last October, and has run decently since then. Tackled some good horses in War Story, Hedge Fund, Flemish Cap. So he's lost to some really good horses, and the buyers are stronger than anybody else in the field. So I like Big Dollar Bill here. Like Silver Dust the 7 to run second for Cordy Lannery and Brett Calhoun, coming off a Fairgrounds win where he was disqualified and placed second, so he wouldn't qualify for this race if he hadn't drifted out in the stretch there. So I like Silver Dust second. And then probably Uncle Mojo for Todd Pletcher with Ortiz is an obvious choice. And Big E for Giroux, the 2-horse at 10-1 is a nice price. But Big Dollar Bill is the one I would take a stand on here if I were singling in pick 4. I
ended up taking Silver Dust, but Silver Dust, Uncle Mojo, Big Dollar Bill, I think all of those are really strong. I went with Silver Dust because he's already won at this condition, and he got DQ'd last time, so he didn't get credit for the win, and made a significant improvement in the second start for a new trainer. So off those angles, I'm going to take Silver Dust, Uncle Mojo, and Big Dollar Bill, though. I'm going to use all 3 in the pick 4. I think it's any of those 3 I could see winning this. 9th race is that other division of the 3-year-old maidens going a mile on the turf. And I ended up on Witch Doctor, the 7. I thought he caught some good fields last year. Mike Maker, trainer's good off a layoff. Gets Le Peru to ride. So with those angles, I'm going to go with the 7, Witch Doctor. Special Forces is the one I like next, the 4. And then Midnight Tea Time. Redoubt's Light, the 9, intrigues me a little bit, but Atfield's horses haven't done much yet, but getting Giroux to ride I thought was intriguing. 11, Blacksburg, if you want to go even deeper. But Witch Doctor's my win pick. How about you?
Yeah, it sounds like we have a lot of races that we don't have strong opinions on here on the Thursday card. I wound up going with Redoubt's Light for Atfield, and I'm like you. He hasn't done anything. He's won for 26 or something like that this year, and Giroux's riding well. He's still in contention for the riding title, but I don't have a really strong opinion. I just think that he's run a couple of good maiden special weights at Woodbine and Gulfstream. Nothing outstanding. He ran well in his debut at Woodbine on Polytrack. Midnight Tea Time for Ground Motion I would use. Hadn't been out since July, though, at Saratoga. So probably going to need a race. Special Forces for Cassie, the one you mentioned, Corey Landry, the numbers at Fairgrounds aren't that great, but he had trouble his first two races and maybe got straightened up the last time. And then I'm going to use the first-time starter. Joel Rosario is, again, in contention for the riding title. He sticks around to ride the last race for a trainer I've not heard of, Gail Cox. There's a reason that Rosario gets on this horse, so I think that's enough to give him a shot. I did not use Witch Doctor. I thought that he ran better last fall at Belmont and kind of tailed off at the end, and thinking he might need one, although he's run against a lot better horses. So I'm going to go probably 4 deep in the pick 4 here. Very, very shaky pick with Redoubt's Light the 9.
So let's look at our pick 4 tickets. Mine ends up being a $90 ticket, but I'm using some of those also eligibles that I referenced, so I don't think it will cost that much. So I'm going to give you these in the order that I like them in case you want to, if they all end up going and you have to try to pare it down. In the first leg, I'm going 8, 3, 16, 14, and 5. So that's the long shot Gemoiselle and the 2 also eligible, Security and Sassy Zeman. Second leg, I'm going to use the 14, Say the Word, the 4, Raging Bull, and the 7, Irish Territory. In the 8th, Silver Dust, Uncle Mojo, Big Dollar Bill. And then in the last, I'm going to use 4, Witch Doctor, Special Forces, Midnight Tea Time, and Redoubt's Light. So, again, that ends up for 50 cents being a $90 ticket. It's considerably more than I normally do, but I don't think it's going to end up costing you that much. I will say the horse that I had to scratch out would be the first one, if I add back in, if several of these scratch, would be the first spring in the 7th race, the second leg, the 11. You mentioned the angle on that one with those 2 races at the fairgrounds, and I think that one's a viable contender in there. And so if I could go one more, I would go there. But so 3, 5, 8, 14, 16 by 4, 7, 14 with 3, 4, 7 with 4, 7, 9, 10. How about you?
Well, one thing you can bet on, I don't think this is going to be a very chalky pick 4. I think you're going to get some surprises in here because, we both handicapped it with shaky opinions, so we're spreading fairly well. First race, I'm going to use 2, 3, 5, 11, Pure Sugar, Security, Sassy Zeman, and my top pick, She's the Nuts. Second race, I'm going to go 5 deep with 2, 4, 6, 7, 11, and that's Divide, Raging Bull, Non-Regret, Irish Territory, and the 11 First Spring. Third race, I'm going to take a stand with Big Dollar Bill, the 4, and I'm also going to use the 7, your horse, Silver Dust, so only 2 deep there. And then I'm going to go 4 deep in the last leg with 2, 4, 9, 10, Malibu Uproar, the 2 Special Forces, the 4, Redoubt's Light, the 9, and Midnight Tea Time, the 10. So I'm going to go 4 by 5 by 2 by 4. So that's $80. It is a fairly expensive ticket. If I were to cut that down, I would single the 4-horse Big Dollar Bill in the third leg and play it for $40.
Best of luck with your wagers on the Thursday card at Keeneland. For Jim Goodman, I'm Tom Leach, and this is the In the Money Podcast.